I would say Josh Heupel is a great man, but CBS says stick it.
Say wham.
What? Let's go ahead and get to it. It is what the H?
What the? What was he thinking? Release the hounds. The Dave Hooker Show.
Keep cool.
A presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
CBS likes to rank coaches. Caleb Calhoun, what was Josh Heupel last year? What is he this year? And what was the change? Please hit like and subscribe.
Josh Heupel, guys, fell. He
Well,
fell from number 16 to number 23 among coach rankings. That's right. He fell from number 16 to number 23 among Power 5, which is now Power 4 coach rankings.
okay. Now let's start with number 16. What did you think of that number after the 2022 season?
I thought it was significantly underrated after the 2022 season. I'm going to be honest.
I do too. I do too. And the reason I was asking that, I believe that you and I are going to be of the same mindset, and that is this should be a pretty fluid list. Guys should be able to go up and down this list based off what they've done. All right. Josh is now 23rd. Are there 22 coaches in college football better than him?
Well, let's just go with the SEC coaches ahead of him. Want to do that real quick?
Let's do that real quick.
All right. Kirby Smart.
Okay.
Josh Heupel. We have Brian Kelly. I think there's some questions about Brian Kelly with LSU at this point, more than I had last year, but better than Josh Heupel at this point, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Steve Sarkisian did just make the playoff. I couldn't complain about him being ahead of Josh Heupel. Kalen DeBoer, can't complain. Just made the playoff. Even though I may disagree, I can't complain. Now, here's where 3 get sketchy. Lane Kiffin at number 14. Would
Pretty
you rather
sketchy.
have Josh Heupel? You taking Heupel or Kiffin right now?
Well, given the issues that have occurred off the field, I would take Heupel, but are they taking that into account?
I guess. I'm not totally sure. I think they're just taking it, what you can do. Now, here's the 2 that may make people's heads explode. Mark Stoops at number 20, even though Heupel's never lost to Stoops.
Hard for me to swallow that. You?
And guys, get ready for Dave's head to just explode out of the building. Because by telling Dave this person, I'm just going to have to say I'm standing on business.
Oh, Eli's
Eli
better
Drinkwitz.
than okay. Would anybody take Eli Drinkwitz over Josh Heupel? Missouri fans, are you out there? Something.
You don't stand on business, Dave?
Stand on business, Josh. No, I'm
The
not
whole
going to.
Drinkwitz.
No, I'm not going to do that. Who else is on that list? That to me is officially the most absurd one.
They're basing it off last year, them going 11-2. So those are the coaches that are from the SEC.
But you can't just base it off 1 year.
They admit there's recency bias to this. So the coaches not in the SEC ahead of them, Ryan Day, Dabo Swinney. How Ryan Day is ahead of Dabo Swinney is driving me bonkers. Who in the world thinks Ryan Day should be ahead of Dabo Swinney in terms of a head coach?
No, I don't see how you could say that. There's 2 national championships. You can say all the recency biases you want to, but he's got 2 national championships.
He's got 2 national championships at a program that's barely a top 25 program of all time, right? And Ryan Day has 0 at a top 5 program of all time.
No, exactly. And pardon my typo, but the poll question is up now. The last one, can Tennessee survive a loss to NC State? No, you can't lose to ACC teams. Yes, long season, NC State is good. 78% said no, you cannot lose to NC State, that they can't survive a loss to NC State. Now, Josh Heupel, 23rd among coaches by CBS, is ludicrous. Okay, correct. Pardon the typo. Too high. Where would you fall among those 4 choices?
I think it's ludicrous. But I let's break down what they're basing this off of, because let's break down what actually happened.
Can I interject for a second? I'm going to say it's okay, because I don't think Josh Heupel had a good year last year. I think when he looks back at 2023, he'll say, I made my most mistakes that year.
See, this is where I'm going to break with you, and I've consistently broken.
Okay.
I never had a problem with Josh Heupel's play calling last year. Nothing about what I thought made Josh Heupel a great coach changed last year.
Well, you didn't like the way he utilized his personnel. I know you didn't like that.
That's where I'm going. There are 2 red flags about Heupel last year. If that's what dropped him, fair, but one of those red flags was there 2 years ago. The first red flag, you guys know where I'm going, talent evaluation. I think that's a question about Heupel. That was a question last year, but that should have been a question 2 years ago because this red flag existed to me the second he named Joe Milton the starter over Hendon Hooker in 2021. I've had no faith in his talent evaluation since then, and there's been nothing to prove that it's gotten better. So I don't know how you learn that.
Now wait, he's hit on a lot of guys.
Has he? Are we sure about that? He hit on James Pierce, but did he recruit James Pierce really?
He's hit on a good number of guys. I have concerns as well, but I think you may have been overstating it just a little bit.
I think
I'm not even going to say the Joe M words because I get ripped for telling you the truth about 10 months ago. So I'm not going to say anything.
But let's break. He dropped in 2023 because of his original sin, which was going to get Joe Milton in 2021. Now, there was a red flag that emerged last year, Dave. And I'm going to tell you, there is one red flag that emerged last year that we didn't know about before. I knew about his talent evaluation issue. You know what the other red flag is now?
I would go with halftime adjustments.
Actually, that's another red flag. Funny enough. Okay, maybe. But
everybody has red flags. It's not like we're trashing the guy.
Here's a gigantic one. I'm starting to question conditioning. Is the conditioning program where it should be? There were so many injuries last year. And they mishandled the Cooper Mays injury.
Okay, that was mishandled. They should have had surgery earlier in the summer. I agree with you there. That's coming from other people. Nothing that Cooper has told me. I want to be really clear, but that's just my opinion. The other injuries, if you want to talk about Brew, Tillman, I'm trying to comment. I don't see a lot of popped hamstrings. I mean, to me, if you're going to break a leg, you're going to break a leg. Sorry, Brew. I think. What's that?
Well, I mean, Keenan Peely tore a muscle. That just doesn't seem. That seems like a conditioning issue.
Okay, Keenan Peely's tricep tear. That's a concern, but it's not to the point where I would be overly concerned just yet. If it happened again next year, I mean, it didn't happen in 2022. They stayed remarkably healthy. If you remember,
were they lucky or were they well conditioned?
Well, were they unlucky or poorly conditioned last year?
That's the question. That is a real question, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the budgetary things that we were talking about earlier. If Tennessee needs to go out and hire a better strength and conditioning coach or up that part of the program, they're able to do it financially. Colton says, are we sure it wasn't Peely's age? Yes. Perhaps he was suffering from a severe bout of arthritis.
I mean, okay.
Wait, wow. You don't like that? The arthritis?
I get it. Oh my gosh. Age shaming over here. And I'm the young one, and I don't like to age shame.
Hooker didn't pop a hammy, by the way. Hendon Hooker didn't pop a hammy. But again, that's a ligament tear. I don't think that is, based off my history, I don't think that's indicative of poor strength and conditioning.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker's was a freak injury. That's not from Hendon Hooker's not one that I would worry too much about. You got me too with halftime adjustments and being on the road. Those are starting to stand out as real concerns. That South Carolina game is looking, we have to say this, Steve. We have to say this, and a lot of people don't want to admit this, but the South Carolina game from 2022, it's looking less and less like a one-off.
I disagree.
It's looking like a trend.
I disagree. I think it's a one-off because of the fashion in which Tennessee has lost its other games. Florida didn't have Cooper Mays in 2023. Last year, Missouri does something really crazy defensively. However, that comes back to halftime adjustments. That's when they should have been able to adjust. Alabama,
how many times?
Alabama was obvious they did a better job of halftime adjustments.
How many times, though, are we going to point to exterior factors before we say, well, these factors shouldn't have been factors? Look, you bring up the Cooper Mays thing, and I agree with you with the Cooper Mays thing. That was an issue, but that Florida team was bad. Tennessee should have beaten Florida without Cooper Mays. It shouldn't have mattered. That game should not have mattered. I mean, his injury should not have mattered in that game.
I think Tennessee's depth was still that bad. I thought about you talking about that yesterday, and I just I mulled over it
I
a
don't
little
think
bit.
Florida was any better than Virginia, and Tennessee blew out Virginia.
Fair.
I think being on the road made it different.
Wasn't a good coaching day. They got beat all around.